All right, we're going to spend some time looking at the next question now. So this question is a bit different because we see that this is not a predator-prey relationship. There's actually been some competition going on here. So we can tell that as generally as the grey squirrels have been introduced, they've just been increasing in this population, and the red squirrels have just been decreasing alongside with them. Right, so what this is telling us is that they've probably been competing for the same limited resource, and the grey squirrel has just won out. Right, so they've been in the same niche, but the grey squirrel has overtaken its position in said niche. Right, so the question says, what conclusion can you draw from this graph about the effect of introducing grey squirrels to a habitat occupied by red squirrels? Explain why this might have occurred. Okay, so again, I'm going to talk about trends, and then I'm going to link that back to the syllabus. So my trends here. Whenever we talk about trends in graphs, you always want to make sure that we reference the data points, otherwise we might not get the mark. So I'm going to try to be specific and just talk about the trend from here to here, and I'll do the matching trend at those time frames. So I'll say from 6 to, let's say, 15. So from 6 to 15 years, the grey squirrel is increasing from basically 0 to 140. And my second trend is that in that same time frame, so from 6 to 15 years, the red squirrel has decreased, right? So and it's gone from about, let's see, 120 to about 30, right? It's a pretty sharp drop off. Right, now I could stop there, but I'm going to talk about another trend before I analyze both of them. And I suspect that most of us probably missed this one. There is an initial trend here, but after this point, it kind of stalls out, right? And what that means is there probably is not enough food supply to sustain a population larger than this, right? So this is kind of our natural cap for this ecosystem, right? And we should probably talk about that trend too. So that kind of kicks in from around year 15. So from year 15 to 20, grey squirrel population, we'll use the word stabilize. Right, so now I'm going to link my trends to the syllabus. Try to separate it the best I can. Now this first trend, which I'll box in, I'll mark as green. Right, so I'll mark this first trend as green. And my explanation for this would just be that there's been some competition occurring, and the grey squirrel has outcompeted the red squirrel. Right, now my next trend, which I'll tag in red, I'll mention that because of the maximum amount of food supply, the grey squirrel population actually can't increase any further. So I think the main takeaways from this lesson, or this section of the lesson, is just to make sure that when we're referencing our trends and graphs, make sure you're talking about all the trends that you see, right? Not just the ones that are most obvious to us. Like I said, I suspected most of us probably just talked about the first trend and then called it a day. Make sure you're looking at the graph carefully. Make sure you're trying to break down all the trends that you see because there might be marks on the table, right? And always make sure you don't just stop answering after you talked about the trends. You also have to explain why the trends are the way they are with our knowledge of the syllabus, right? So in this case, there's been some competition in line with the competitive exclusion principle, and we've hit a max food supply.